Hello everybody and welcome back to the Messy Cook 1970. So as I promised, this is one of the soup recipes that I was mentioning that I was going to let you know about and show you how to make. So this is going to be a parsnip soup. If you haven't had parsnips, these are parsnips. They're basically, I don't want to say they're white carrots because they do have a slightly different flavor. They kind of have a little more sweetness to them, and I don't know, it's hard to explain, not a zing. They're delicious in roasts. If you like root vegetables per se, you're going to love these. So along with this, I am going to add a little bit of cauliflower because I like to add a little extra veggies in there to get some more nutrients in when we're making our soup. So the bulk of it is going to be the parsnips here. I'm also going to add in, I've got a couple of stalks of celery. So 2 stalks of celery. I had some green onions in there that were not quite on their last legs, but getting there, so I wanted to use those up, so I've cleaned those up. And I probably have, it's probably about 3 good stalks full if I counted, what I took off the other ones, and some fresh thyme from my garden, which is absolutely lovely. I have a huge abundance of it right now, so that's a delicious thing. I do have 3 cloves of garlic. It looks like 4, but I've smashed them up. I'm just going to smash one more, and this is how they don't need to be, we're just going to smunch that. Don't need to be chopped per se. That didn't work, but I'll get that one peeled. Oops. And I have one knob, probably about a 1-inch piece here of ginger. So that is going to go in at the end. So what I'm going to do is I've got everything else prepped here. I'm just going to smash that garlic. I'm going to chop that roughly. I'm going to break this cauliflower down into some smaller pieces, and I may only use about half of it. There's probably about 3 good cups there, so I'll probably use about 1.5 cups of that. And I'm going to get these peeled and chopped and try to keep a pretty uniform size. Once that's all done, we'll chop all these together, and I'm going to put them in this pan here. We will drizzle it with some avocado oil. You could use olive oil if that's all you have. That's totally fine, or canola. Avocado oil I like because it has a high smoke point. So we're going to roast these vegetables instead of just boiling them in stock. This is some of the chicken stock I have made. I'll probably use more than that. I have another half of one in the fridge from a soup I made the other day. So I'll get these all chopped and prepped, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we're back. I've got all of these parsnips peeled. As you can see, they're nice white. That's why I say kind of like a white carrot underneath. I've got all my veggies prepped. We're going to get these chopped here. I'm going to give that garlic a smash. So this is what I've done. I've just smashed it. It does need to be chopped perfectly or peeled perfectly. So I'm just going to coarsely chop the carrots. Get rid of that peel there. The carrots, the celery, the garlic, the onions. I want to get everything as uniform as possible because you want an even cook. I mean, the celery is pretty hard, and the parsnips are the same. So we're just going to chop these into, I don't know, half centimeter and a half pieces. Okay, we just want to have them so they're all cooked about the same time. So we're going to roast these till everything is kind of golden. The garlic, just a rough chop all the way through, and because we've smashed it, you can see it's just kind of breaking up into pieces. So this, as it roasts, will soften and get kind of a caramelized flavor. So we're just going to drop that in. Okay. I'm going to keep that thyme aside. The onions, we're just going to chop these. I'll cut these in about 1.5 to 1-inch pieces. They're a little bit quicker cookers, so we don't want those too small. I'll throw this in. Now, this may look like it's going to be a green soup, but trust me, it will turn out to be more of a nice creamy white soup. Get that ginger there so I don't lose it. Now, some of these have some bigger nubs on the end, so we're just going to chop the smaller ones off. And keep the bigger nubs there, and just going to chop these down into 1-inch pieces there. That one will chop in half. Like I said, we want as uniform as possible. So I'm going to continue in chopping the rest of these. I'm also going to add in, like I said, about half of this cauliflower. All right, so what I'm doing here with the last 2, so just so you can kind of see how I'm cutting these, I'm just cutting these down because they are obviously odd sized. I'm going to trim the ends to about 1-inch pieces. I'm going to cut these in half, so the whole thick part is in quarters, and then quarter that again. That makes everything pretty uniform. We want as much uniform in size with these parsnips as we can. And like I said, these are kind of an unsung hero. People don't realize how delicious they are. They go, ooh, I don't like those because it's a little bit something different. But You know, you could cook these up, boil them, steam them, whatnot, mash them with some cooked carrots, and you've got a delicious side dish for any sort of holiday dinner. So those are all done, and we're just gonna, like I said, just gonna break these in cubes here. So let me just make sure you guys can see what I'm doing here. I'm just adding in, here's all of our stuff, and I'm just adding in some of this cauliflower. Just gonna break it up in little pieces, little tiny florets. This just gives, like I said, hey, a little extra veggies in there will give you a little bit more of a thicker, meaty soup, and definitely more nutrition. So we're going to add all that in. Now the ginger, I'm going to leave till after this is cooked. So we want to get this all roasted and caramelized and delicious. Once everything is nice and fork tender and a little bit of caramelization on the top, we will take it out and finish it in the blender. You can also put it in a pot with some chicken stock as well, and use an immersion blender. I have my Vitamix, so for me the Vitamix is my best bet. So let's see here, and maybe a couple more pieces here. I'll add a couple more pieces of the cauliflower. So use my handy dandy little towel here to wipe my hands. We're going to add in some fresh thyme, which I'm just going to strip off the leaves. If you have tender stalks, it doesn't hurt if a little bit of the stalk gets in there, because this is all going to get blended. And if you like it chunky, you can leave a little chunkier as well. I like a smooth cream of parsnip soup, but you can, like I said, you can follow this recipe as well and use carrots instead if you really don't like parsnips, but you want to have that sort of flavor. You can add in a little extra ginger at the end. The ginger just gives a little pop of flavor, and is certainly great for your tummy. Good antioxidant. But if you don't like ginger, no need to add it. So I'm just going to take that one stalk out of there. Rinse my hands. And to finish it off, I'm going to drizzle on some olive oil. Now, I don't really follow recipe per se. I probably have a cup and a half of cauliflower. I probably have about 4 to 5 cups of parsnip, 3 to 4 good-sized green onions, 2 good stalks of celery, 4 cloves of garlic, and probably a 1/4 cup, my guess, of avocado oil. I'm going to put on some coarse salt here. I'd say dribble that everywhere. This is why I'm the messy cook, because I dribble everything everywhere. A good teaspoon and a half of coarse salt. And I'm going to crack some fresh pepper on that as well. This is probably a 1/2 teaspoon of cracked fresh pepper. I want to get a good coating. I like, for creamy soups, I really, really like a decent amount of pepper. Not hot, but a decent amount of pepper in there. And again, we're going to season this at the end anyhow. So just taking a little spoon, messy, throwing everything everywhere. You know what? They can use their hands for this. Get another big stalk out of there as well. So we're just going to mix this all up, get everything coated in the oil. Like I said, get it all mixed. We're going to pop this in the oven at 400 degrees. You can do 350 if you want, but 400 will give you that little bit of caramelization texture I was talking about. And caramelization means flavor. So there's going to be a sweetness to the soup. Not like sugary sweet, but yeah, lovely. So we're going to pop this into the oven at 400 degrees. All right, so here's a little close look. You can see everything in there. This is going to be one delicious soup. Now listen, if you don't want to use green onions and you want to use regular onion, I would recommend a Vidalia or a sweet onion. And I would use probably 1 medium or 1.5 medium ones. We're going to pop this in my oven. Not going to put a lid on it, but we're going to let that roast up. And we'll set our timer. I'm going to check it at ½ an hour. So we're going to, this is probably going to roast for 45 minutes to an hour. Oop, we're too far there. So I want to let this go for 30 minutes. And at the 30-minute mark, I'm going to come out, give it a good stir up, and kind of see where we're at, okay? Okay, so timer is done. I'm just going to take a look. So this is, oops, sorry if the fogginess there, it's the heat coming off. So this has been a ½ an hour. Things are getting a little bit golden, but not even close to golden enough. And you can see these are not, these are still pretty crunchy. So we're going to leave those in there for another little bit. I do want to give them a stir and get some of that oil from the bottom up on the top. Now, if you think there's not enough oil in there, which I actually think maybe I could add a little bit more here, we can add in drizzle with a little bit more olive oil, which I think I'm going to do. And then that way, I know I used avocado oil, but I'm going to add a little olive oil this time. It does have a nice flavor as well. Okay, so we're just going to add on a little bit of olive oil, just drizzled across the top here. Maybe a couple tablespoons, not too much. We don't want it an oily soup. We want it just to help roast these up. So give one quick last little stir. It is coming along. It smells really nice. Really nice. All right, so we're going to let that go. I'm going to put it on for another half an hour, and we will check back. Yeah, literally down to the last couple seconds. I just came out. Thought I'd check this here. Let's turn our timer off and take a quick look at what's happening in here. Again, we're going to get a little fog up. We're going to pull this out. Ooh, this is looking lovely. So everything's getting a little bit caramelized, which is exactly what we want. And yeah, that's lovely. Look at that. Let's see how nice these veggies are here. The caramelization on the onions. It smells absolutely amazing. Everything looks good. We're going to give it a quick little check. And you know what? Still a little bit firm. So I think we're going to let this go for another 15 or 20 minutes. I might just do a little splash of water in here just to kind of get it steaming a little bit. About half a cup. Most of that's going to steam off, but that will also help keep our veggies a little bit moisture. So I'm going to go 15 more minutes, and we're going to come back, and I think at that point we're probably going to be ready to take this out and finish this recipe off. So we will be back in 15. Alright, so the veggies are finally done. It took an hour and 15 minutes on 400 degrees. I did, like I said, add a little bit of extra olive oil near the end and a bit of water. So these have caramelized up a little bit. You can caramelize them more if you choose, but honestly, this is good enough for me. We don't want it to turn into a brown soup. We still want it looking creamy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take these veggies and let's see if we can see in there. Okay, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And I'm going to put them in the Vitamix. Now, if you don't have a Vitamix, you could just put this in a pot. And if you have an immersion blender or just a regular old blender is fine as well. So you want to get all those veggies in. Here, I'm out of the way here. And of course, there is a reason I use the Bioline, the Messy Cook, because I tend to drop everything everywhere. So remember, if there is some stems from, from the thyme, they're okay to go in. This is all going to blend into a nice smooth blend. Now, if you don't want too smooth and you want a bit of chunks in there, you can leave some of this aside and chop it up, once it cools down a little bit, and just add it in as is. But personally, this is a nice, it's like a rich, thick, creamy, delicious soup. So this is all done there. I'll grab my little spoon, scrape off everything here, and pick up the pieces that I dropped. There we go. We don't want to miss any of it. Now, while the last 15 minutes was going on, I was heating up some chicken stock that I canned previously. So I'm just getting that now. And I'm going to pour, this is 1.5 jars, so it's about 3 cups. I'm going to pour in about 1.5 cups of chicken stock. That's about half of what I have there. And I may need more, but for now, that's what I want to do. This is where I'm going to throw in my ginger that I had earlier. So I'm just going to slice this and coarsely chop it up a little bit. Let's see here. Yeah, like that. It gives kind of a little extra zing. So we're going to add that in there. You could roast this, but it will lose a lot of its potency and some of the flavor. It'll still have some of the nutrients, but raw is a little bit better way to add it in. I'm also going to grate some fresh nutmeg. When I did the pumpkin pie or pumpkin spice smoothie earlier, and I was talking about the seeds or pods, whatever way you want to call them, this is what I use. And this is just a nice little addition, not too much. Well, dropped it right in there, so that's all right. And I just grated a tiny bit in there. I don't know, like not even 1/4 teaspoon. If you don't have this, this is fine. You can add in 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg or a little bit less. If you don't like nutmeg, like I said, don't add it in. So we're just going to put this on the Vitamix. Put that over here. And really am making a mess today. We're going to start it on low and start blending it. And I'm going to see how thick this is. Normally we let this go for about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm just going to blend it for about 30 seconds, enough to kind of get everything combined, and then see where we are for thickness and see if we need to put some more stock in there. Okay, so let's go here. Well, I can see already that is definitely super thick, so we're going to take that down, take the lid off, and I'm going to add in, I think I'm just going to add in the rest of that chicken stock. This soup I'm going to have for the week for work. So I dump that in. I just want to use my fork just to kind of push that a little bit to the bottom, just so it doesn't splatter up too much and it mixes it better. Don't leave that in there. Alright, so we're going to blend that back up. And start back at low again. We'll let that go for a few minutes. Okay, so I blended this for about 1 minute. And it's really thick, as you can see here. There we go, super, super thick. So I'm going to add some milk into this, as I was going to add a little bit of cream. But we're going to add a little bit of milk in just to thin it out a little bit more. If you're dairy-free, there's a couple of options you can do. You can do some almond milk. You can add in some cashews with a little bit of water. I would suggest soaking the cashews first, so you get kind of a cashew milk. So it's kind of like a cashew cream. So this is a vegetarian. Well, maybe not vegetarian. I don't know. I put milk in it, but you can make this vegan. Do chicken broth. Veggie broth instead of chicken broth. I'm going to add in about 1/2 cup of milk here. Just use, you know, do it to your thickness or to the likeness that you like. If you don't like it too thick, just add, you know, add 1 cup. If you want a little bit thicker, try 1/2 and see how it goes. But yeah, make this how you like. So I'm going to turn this back on here, get it blended, and blend it for about a little bit. Zoom that out. There we go. And I'm going to blend that for about 2 or 3 minutes, and it'll get it hot as well. Okay, so I'm just finishing blending that. We're going to turn it off. And it should be nice and hot. The nice thing about the Vitamix is if you do use a Vitamix or you own one, you can do this for about 4 to 5 minutes and you will have a very hot soup. So because we had hot veggies and hot stock and we've let this go, I did this for about 3 minutes. You can see the steam coming off of that. It is quite a thick soup. Again, you can thin it if you like. I like it thicker, so that's kind of my, you know, that's perfect for me. Well, maybe that might be a little bit thick, but that's okay. If we need to add stock, we can add stock as we go along. I am going to taste this just to see, and you can see here, this is just beautiful color here. Almost like a pale green. You taste that ginger, that's lovely. Very nice. We definitely need lots more pepper. So I'm going to throw some more fresh grated pepper in here. And we're going to definitely need some more salt as well. And you know what, I think I might, let's thin it out. I think I do need to thin it out a little bit more still. So I've added, I don't know, probably 1/2 teaspoon of pepper there. I'm going to put in a little bit more coarse salt, just to sprinkle, I don't know, 1/4 teaspoon maybe, flaked salt. And I'm going to add in just a little bit of water, just to thin it out, because yeah, it is definitely little too thick. Oh, 1/2 cup maybe. And I'm going to give this another blend, and we're going to taste test again to see if we have it at the consistency that I want. So I'll turn that up and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've washed my spoon up. We're going to try this again. This is still pretty thick, but yeah, that's about the thickness I want. Like I said, if you like a little chunkier, leave some of those pieces out and you know, let it be, and chop them up smaller and mix it in at the end just with a spoon, and you'll be all set. So I'm going to try this. That's perfect. Now, season to taste yourself. If you like more black pepper, add more black pepper. If you like more salt, add more salt. Feel free to add what you want. I do like to finish soup, this sort of soup, with a little bit of a diced green onion. Not green onion. Well, you could do green onion too, but I happen to have some chives from my garden. So my garden is still doing really well with the chives and thyme. I have lots of oregano and rosemary out back, and yeah. So I'm gonna chop this up. This chopped chives will last me the week for my soup. And then I'll be bringing this for lunch most days in a thermos. So yeah, get your thermoses out. Winter is here. Well, almost here. Fall is here, and we want those warmer treats. So I'm going to just have a very small bowl now because I do have dinner planned a little bit later. Take a scoop of this out. So I'm just going to have a small bowl for now. I'm going to pour that soup in. There we go. I have a little bit more than that. There we go. Okay, so this is going to be my meal prep for the week for lunch. And since I've sloppily added on, should I say sloppily planted that big dollop of my soup in the chives there, I'll just use those chives on top. So that's my soup. I do like to finish it off with a tiny bit of whipping cream, just a little drizzle, so hopefully I don't pour too much on there. So we're going to see. There we go. Couple spots, couple dribbles. You know, if you can be more dainty than me, they can make it pretty and swirl it around. But so this is my soup. So this is a creamy parsnip vegetable soup. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. I do have a few more soup recipes coming over the next little while. Feel free to like my page, tell your friends about it, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Hope you all have a wonderful day. You take care, enjoy that nice cool weather, and we'll be back soon with another recipe. Thanks, and have a wonderful day.